when I was reading in the comments, some people sort of missed bits out that I was, when I took this Bosch starter to bits. Yeah, I can appreciate that, because I didn't know what I was doing, because I'd not seen one for a long time. So I thought I'd do it again from start to finish. And they're very, very simple to do, honestly. They're not rocket science. I'd painted this and I'd put a new solenoid on it since you last saw. So why not let's go and have a look and see how we take it apart. Really easy. You don't need many tools. That's it. That's all you're getting. But an impact is really handy. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to disconnect the wire here for the solenoid. The new solenoids do not come with nuts. Alright. I've put some stainless steel ones on because I have them. I thought I really like to make it look nice and tarty. There you go. Those are really nice nuts if you can get them, those flange nuts with the serrated bottoms on. Right, so then you're going to pull the wire out the way. Going to go now to these 3 screws here. Now I'll just trying to zoom in a bit, that's about it. 3 screws here. Now these can be buggers to get out. It's no good warming them up in here because you'll melt the solenoid inside, and you know, the windings or the insulation. We don't want to do that. On the previous video, what I used is an impact, but I took the impact piece off, the Phillips or posi drive, or whatever you want to call it, and hit it on here with a hammer just to break them free and to get the paint out of the joint. But I don't need to do that because we've already done it. And there we go. 1, 2, and lo and behold, it all falls off. Keep the spring because that might be handy. Now, if you can recall on our original starter when we stripped it down, the rubber cover was missing. It wasn't so much missing, it was split. So we ordered another one. Now, as many of you have said, that the cover wasn't on, and I noticed the cover wasn't on a lot of early ones, but seeing it was on this one, we're going to fit it. Now I'm just going to try and get those last 2 screws out so they don't fall on the floor. You can see I put a bit of white grease on them already. Come out. There we go. 3 screws. Now we're going to take out the solenoid. We can do that quite easy. It just lifts off a little pin. So we're going to take that cover off first. But it's difficult to see because of the rubber cover. But you can see there's the slot. And inside there's the pin that it locks onto. That piece at the top, not the bottom, but that piece there. That's nice and easy, isn't it? So we'll just quickly put this piece back together so we know which way it goes on. Ready? So that was easy. The next thing, we're going to take off the motor itself. So all we need to do for that is take off these screws, these long bolts that hold it together. Now I think I said they were 9s. Well, they're not 10s, that's for sure. Yeah, they're 9mm. Oh. These don't have to be monster tight, you know. You know, some people get a bit carried away with tightening things up, using impact guns and things like that. Is that a washer? It's stuck on there anyway. Right, so I'm going to take this bolt out of here. I've got 2 cameras on today. I'm not really sure whether I'll use both. I think I'll just use the main camera. Yeah, microphones are on out because I made that mistake once before doing something. There's the bolts out. Next, we can take the motor off. Now the motor we'll do in a minute, but we'll just have a quick look at the sun and planet arrangement. We've got a rubber grommet in here. Take that out. We've got a cover. Make note of which way it goes up. The cutout goes at the top, and this piece here sticking up towards you. See? Like that. Not the other way. There's your sun and planet arrangements. Now, if there's any damage in here, forget it, because you can't buy these pieces. In fact, at the end of the video, I think what I'll do is I'll put a list together of bits and pieces you can and you can't buy. So that should come out of there. Is it? Buggery. That should just pop out. Oop. Oop. There we go. Stays it out. There's nothing. There we go. There's nothing holding it in, and it'll all come out in one big assembly. So let's go through this piece first while we've got it here. The parts that you can buy. You can buy the clutch. The clutch is there for the simple reason, if the engine starts and this is sort of stuck in engaged, it won't turn the starter backwards and bugger everything up. So you can buy that. You can buy the bearing that goes in the end of here. And that, my friends, is about that. That's all you can buy. You can't buy anything for this piece. Sorry, doing it again. You can't buy anything for this piece at all. To get the clutch off, behind here there's a little slippery, there's a ring like a C-clip, and you knock that back and it'll expose the C-clip, take it off, take that off, and then you can get to the clutch. But there's nothing else really on there that's useful that you can repair, unfortunately. That's the problem with these starters. You can't get any bits. Well, you can, but you can't get much. Now, to do the starter itself, or the motor, easy peasy. Take this cover off, 2 screws. Got some in there. 2 screws are off. Now, you take that little cover off there. There's a horseshoe clamp here, washer. Take that off, and then we can take the cover off. That was easy. There's a bearing or a bushing inside there. You can buy that piece. Right. Now we come to the brush pack, and you can see now the amateurs come out. You can't buy these individually, so forget that. If this is all broken, probably send it to Pakistan. They'll be able to fix it with a few bits and pieces. Now we have the brush pack. You can replace the brushes. All right, you can replace the brushes. Now, I thought originally you could replace the whole brush pack by simply desoldering this connection here. You see there's 2 wires coming from the coils? No, you can't. You can replace the brushes, but you solder them onto these tabs here. You get it? I'll see if I can zoom in when I finish this video. That's all. Now, this is the trick, how you put it back together again. Because I only found this out quite by accident. You can buy these brass covers here and the springs. But if you push them in, like this, they're on a little locking device. Can you see that? Does that focus in well? It's on a little lock. So you can buy the springs, you can buy the brushes, so you can go and take them off, like that, look. Take them all off, doesn't matter, they're all the same. And then you can get good access to your contacts for your brushes. Now these were very, very good, so there was no point going on and on at that. Right, so now we're going to put this back together again. I hope you took notice of how it came apart. Right, let's have a look at this. This is a bit of a tricky one to do because it can go in numerous places. What we have to do is take note of these 2 screw holes here, in correspondence to the bolt holes here, because these are tapped. Also, there's a flat on the top of here and there's a flat on the top of here. So this must be designed to go in different places for different starters. So what we want is this to go like that. You see what I mean? See how that hole lines up with that one lines up with this one, and there's a flat at the top. Oh, no, that's better. Is it in properly? That's it. Just to check, there's the little boss where the threads are, and that's that bit. Then we can rotate this to its correct place. Now when we took it off, we said there was a flat at the top, didn't we? Like that. And you can see where there's big dirt at the bottom. See there, look. Good. That's easy, isn't it? Now before we put that plate on and all those bits, we should really put the rubber in. Now the rubber goes with this raised piece to the top. So we might just pull that out, set that in and drop that down. That was easy, wasn't it? Not rocket science. Next thing, we'll start to assemble the motor. Now I've already got grease in there, so we shouldn't need too much more, but I might just be tempted to put a little bit more on, just back in a sec. Here we go. I'll just put a bit more on, freshen that grease up. It has been a few weeks since I did this. Get in there. Right. Now we did say in the video, the original video, how this works, because it's a reduction gear, and you can see as I turn this one fast, this one's turning slow. So that was okay, we can understand that. Next we can put the windings on. You cannot buy new windings. You can't buy windings, you can't buy armatures. So you can build one up from parts, which is pretty easy enough. Now we've got to find out which way that goes on the top. Now let's see which way the bolts go through. Oh, that's got a notch in there, so that has to go like that. It'll only go on one way because there's the wire for the top. The next thing we're going to do is assemble our brush pack. I've moved over to the vise to do this bit because it might be a bit easier for you to see. When we put the brushes in, there is a little notch in the back. There's a little cutout, and that's the way they go in. Alright, so I saw on a video that they had a little cone, taper cone. Well, I haven't got that bit, which is going to make this really tricky. So I'm just going to drop that piece on and hope that I can get the brushes back in without any tears. Like that. Right, that's two in. What about this youth here? Just make sure he's in roughly the right place. Yeah, I think next time we do one of these, we'll do it with a little tapered tool, because it is darn tricky to do. There. Make sure they lock in, because there's a little locking device on them. There. this might be clearer to show you the little locking pin on the top, so you push it through and it comes back and joins. Right, so we've come to this last brush here. See if we can get this in. They're a bit tricky, but they're not impossible. Ah, there he is. So we're going to put the spring in the housing. And then lock that in place. Just like that. Did you hear it click in? Double check they're all held in properly. They're not going to come out anywhere. Make sure these two little tangs on the top where the screws go in are in the right place. And then we can start to put this together. So again, we'll put a little bit of white grease on the inside of here. Might be zoomed in a bit too much here. There we go. Back a bit. That's it. Obviously the cutout in here goes against the rubber. That's down there. Washer. Horseshoe. Now, is that going to go on because that shaft get up there? That's in its right place. If we put the bolts back in, you can turn it upside down a bit and turn it upside down, put the horseshoe in. Would be great. Of course, that bolt there is not going onto anything. I've just had somebody pull up, so I might have to just go outside. See what it is. Oh, that's getting there. Aha, that's what I wanted. There. That's slipped onto there. Now we can put this little cap on. Now, take these two screws out. Fit the cap. Now this one's a bit tricky, I don't know why. It always seems to want to move. That's him. That's him. That's down. Right, so once we've established all this ends all tightened up together, we're just going to tighten them bolts up a bit. There we go. There we go. Now we're going to put the solenoid on. This is I was just talking to myself there for a minute. Obviously the bottom screw goes to this wire, and this hook hooks in to the lever here. Now it is tricky to see, so I'm going to go down here and make sure it's on. Not quite. Pull it backwards and forwards, and you'll be able to see the mechanism going in and out. Next, we line up that metal ring, push this forward and turn it until we get an alignment. There we go. It seems to be going in. Is it that ring? The metal ring's a bit of a mess about. Ah, wait a minute. Yeah. I didn't have it turned properly. Now they are a bit of a fiddle. I'm sure if you do them every day, they're really, really easy. That's it. Put the wire back on the starter. Put the nut on. Tighten the nut down. And we're good to go. That's it. That's all there is to it. There's nothing really difficult. I mean, fiddly, I agree they are fiddly, but nothing really really difficult. I'm going to get set up, we'll test this. Right, I've already got a ground on it and a positive, so we're going to put the positive on this lead. Some of these things out of the way, put the ground on. Now where's my little test lead? Right, with this on here, this should work. Job done. They are really easy. But sometimes you catch a crab by not hooking, what do we say, this bit, you know, like hooking that bit onto the pin. Sometimes you miss it. Now I did have a chat with some of the guys down at the alternator shop about that rubbery bit, and it was interesting what they said. They said they never fit them. He says because here in Canada when it's very cold that rubber can get hard. And consequently, it sticks the solenoid. So they don't fit it. Funny, isn't it? Eh? Funny old world. Anyway, now we have a starter. You know how to take them to bits and put them back together again. Pretty easy. Not a big deal. But we could have saved some time and money by not buying that rubbery thing. But yeah, I don't know. They said sometimes they see them, sometimes they don't. Funny old things, eh? So anyway, that's the starter.